Golf Central on YouTube is brought to you by the Paradigm AI Smoke Woods and Irons from Callaway.
Well, hi again, everyone. Jimmy Roberts here, and this is your Golf Central update. What a treat today. Jim Nantz, the voice of the Masters and so much more, joined us, and there was no shortage of stories to tell. Hello, friends. How did that start?
Well, it's all related to what we just talked about, Jimmy. And my father was probably in the middle of his battle, still could converse. I still felt like we're working against the clock and praying for some sort of sudden great miracle drug that would come through, but trying to keep the engines turning, trying to play name games and things that would get his mind working. And one day I was sitting by his bedside and I said to him, Dad, this weekend, I'm going to be up at Hazeltine for a golf tournament. When I look into that lens, I'm going to look in there and I'm going to see you. I'm going to say something that I want you to know means I'm thinking of you at this very moment. I'm going to say, hello, friends. Jim Nantz here. Well, I have the great honor of carrying my father's name. I was a third. My family always knew me as Jimmy. My family still does. So do my close friends. My dad was Jim. But when I got started in the business, I was young, and someone suggested that Jimmy Nantz sounded a little too young. So I was proud to take my father's name. But anyway, I said, Dad, I'm going to look into the lens. I'm going to say, hello, friends. And I want you to know that very second I'm thinking of you. Now, I don't know if 5 minutes later it already escaped his mind, but I wanted to think that he was looking for it when I signed on that day from a PGA championship. And someone said to me afterwards, boy, I heard you say hello, friends. What was that all about? Told him the backstory. He said, that's something you ought to do every time. So pretty much every show I've ever done since then, most recently the Super Bowl, I say hello, friends. My dad's been gone a long time, Jimmy. I look into that lens and I still see him. The old line that I got when you are on camera, you try to talk to one person, you try to look into that lens, and you think of someone. I didn't really know what that meant until that came about. And it's a comforting feeling, honestly. You look into the lens, you're about to come on the air for the Masters, the Super Bowl, had staggering audience reach a couple of weeks ago. I don't even think about it. I just think about my dad on the other side of the lens, and I say, hello, friends.
Well, that's a sweet story. You talk about that staggering reach. You've spent your entire network career at CBS, coming up on 40 years, I think. But at the start, and I've got the story correct, there was actually an NBC connection. Isn't that correct? You knocked on a door?
That's true. I was masquerading kind of as a golfer on the Houston golf team. And all three of my roommates ended up playing on the PGA Tour. They got to live their dream. My dream was to work in the industry. I truly wanted to be able to broadcast the Masters one day. That was the goal. That was the childhood dream since I was 11. But here we were on a Friday afternoon, our sophomore year. We went out to the Woodlands, and there were the NBC trucks, the compound off to our right. And the boys said, you ought to go over there and ask NBC for a job. So we did it. I walked over to a security guard, and I said, excuse me, is Don Ohlmeyer here today? And he said, yes. I said, could you tell him Jim Nantz is looking for him? I was 19 years old. I'm 64 now. It's a long time ago. The guard leaves. Freddie Couples, Blaine McAllister, John Horn. They all look at me like, who's Don Ohlmeyer? I said, come on, guys. He's the big cheese over at NBC. He does everything. He even produces their golf. How do you know that? I said, guys, you got to read the credits. He's everywhere. Well, it wasn't a day at this time where we had Google search or anything like that. So it wasn't as easy to be able to dial up that kind of information. And just as soon as I explained who Mr. Ohlmeyer was, here comes the guard with a man in tow. It dawned on me, Jimmy, here I am acting like a big shot. I didn't know what Don Ohlmeyer looked like. So here comes a giant of a guy, handsome, got the cashmere sweater, cardigan, cashmere, whatever, was draped around the back of his shoulders and tied around the neck. And he walks over without socks and loafers on. You know the look, Jimmy. You worked with Don a long time. And he said, I'm looking for Jim Nantz. I said, yes, sir. I'm right here. I'm on the Houston golf team. I'm studying communications. These three guys, my buddies are on the golf team. He said, well, how can I help you? And one of them said, he wants a job. And Olmeyer said, what do you have in mind? And one of them, I'm not sure which one, might have been Freddie, could have been Blaine, John. One of them said, put him on the air. And he kind of went, well, we have all the announcers we need. But if you would like to work this weekend, I can get you a job as a runner. And you can drive our announcers around. They park up at the clubhouse. We're out here at 17. When they park the car, I need somebody to bring them down here to the offices. So I did that. And I think about it all these years later. Don's been gone a long time. I still see his boys. But how generous was that for a guy on the spot to give a kid a break? And that ended up presenting an opportunity for the next week. NBC had the tour at Preston Trail in Dallas. They had the old Byron Nelson. And I went up there and worked for him again and made some contacts, and away we go. It really helped launch my career.
You know, a lot of us started as runners in this business. And think about it, if not for a twist of fate, we could have had you and Dan Hicks side by side in a broadcast booth for all these years.
It would be an honor.
Yeah.
It really would.
Well, listen, I know you like to say that you were the worst player on that team, but you must have had some game. You know, listen, Houston was the defending national champion, and you made the team. You actually led a tournament, I think, your freshman year, didn't you?
Jimmy, come on now. I've never heard you delve into hyperbole in your incredible career. So don't start now. But yes, I did lead a tournament, but let's qualify that. What I do tell people is I led a tournament as a freshman with all the way up until 9 holes to play. What I don't tell people, it was a one-day 18-hole tournament. I like people to think, well, he must have led for 63 holes. That's incredible. And I led for 9 holes. Shot 1 under 35 on the front. And I'm starting to think maybe instead of getting to the Masters one year with a microphone, maybe these clubs will take me there. And as soon as I started to think like that, after pars at 10 and 11, I might add, so I'm still in red figures with 7 to play. Double bogey at 12, double bogey at 13, double bogey at 14. I parred in then, 15 and in. So my career record in tournament play at Houston, my scoring average was 77 based off of 1 round. I never made a bogey in competition. When I got to wear the Houston red polo and uniform, I had 1 birdie, 3 doubles, and 14 pars, and that's all she wrote.
Not that you remember the details all these many years later, or that it's at all painful. Listen, I know you got to get going, so just a couple of quick other ones for you. You know, in what we do, I think we are so lucky. The places we go, the things we get to see, the people we meet. For you, there's been, of course, golf and football and basketball and the Olympics, too. But is there one event, and this is a difficult question, or maybe a couple that just stand out beyond all the rest?
Well, there is this one event that is starting to come into view. We call it a tradition unlike any other.
Yes, we do.
So that one is the one that was the driver of all drivers.